South Africa, stories from the wild. I'm Francois, Fourie, wildlife photographer, professional field guide, and this is where my world of safaris meets storytelling. Hi everybody, welcome back to Above Africa Stories from the Wild. I am Francois Fourie, your host, professional field guide and wildlife photographer based in South Africa. And we are back. This is episode 5, if I'm not mistaken. Thank you so much, firstly, for everybody that has been tuning in so far. Some cool comments coming through as well on Spotify. Remember, we're streaming on Spotify and YouTube. If you want to watch the video component, you go to YouTube. If you just want to be listening to this on the road, wherever you go and check us out on Spotify. Now, today, I'm going to be talking about family safaris. Now, this is a question that we get quite a lot because it's something that people love to do. I've got a family myself. I've got 2 boys that's 6 years old and 3 years old. So we love going to the bush together. We love going on safari. And it's a really, really special time for me and my wife and my 2 boys when we're out on safari. But it's always tricky to kind of know where to go and when to go and why do you go to these specific places. Now, a couple of weeks ago, me and my family were very fortunate to go to a reserve which I haven't been to in quite some time, called Madikwe Game Reserve, which is in the northwest province of South Africa, right up next to the Botswana border. And what's nice about Madikwe Game Reserve is that it's in a malaria-free area of South Africa. So there's no worry for little kids contracting malaria. In Southern Africa, malaria is generally fairly uncommon, if I can put it like that, but there are areas where there's slightly higher risk, and it's always still better to go and consult your doctor and get medical advice. However, Madikwe is a malaria-free game reserve, which makes it perfect for families. Now, we went to a lodge group called Morukuru. Morukuru is a group that's got lodges in Madikwe. They've got a couple of places down on the coast. A really, really special place. Beautiful luxury lodges and hotels across South Africa. And specifically, we went to one of their lodges in Madikwe called Owner's House. Now, Owner's House is situated on the Morukuru River, which is a river that runs through the Madikwe Game Reserve. So what's nice about that is that it attracts game. Whenever you're in a reserve or at a lodge where there's water, generally that will attract game, especially during the dry months. And Morukuru has actually just been rebuilt after big floods that they had in the beginning of the year. So they recently just opened, and it was an amazing experience to go there with my family. So a family safari has got a couple of key components that is super, super important. Now, one of the first things that I remember when I was a guide and I had families that I guided, the kind of rule of thumb were always, if the parents are happy, if the kids are happy, the parents are happy. So it's all about keeping the kids busy and having things for them to do so that the parents can also just enjoy their time on safari, take in the amenities that's at the lodge, and just enjoy it. Because often when you travel with young kids, our kids, for example, is 3 and 6 years old, it can sometimes become a little bit tricky because they want your attention, they crave your attention, and it's amazing to be able to give them your attention when you're on safari and explaining to them all the amazing things. But when you've got staff at the lodge that can just every once in a while assist and help to keep them busy, it goes a long way, and it allows you as parents to have peace of mind that your kids are being looked after, and they're being looked after in the right way. So when we arrived at Morukuru, immediately the kids were like in 7th heaven. We had lunch as we arrived on a deck that they called the Sala deck, which is like built out over the Morukuru River. And the first thing that I noticed about what they did, and this is a Relais and Chateau luxury lodge, so take that into account. This is like the top end of the top end of type of lodges. To be part of Relais and Chateau, you really have to come to the party. But what I really loved was the simplicity of things that they did for the kids at lunch, and immediately put me and my wife at ease when we got there. They served lunch, beautiful lunch, great food. The chefs, the kitchen, amazing. The kids' lunch served in a nice plastic plate, not a glass plate or porcelain or whatever the case might be, a plastic plate with kid-friendly knives and forks. Like, you will not believe how often you don't get something as small as that. So that was quite a nice little touch. Plastic cups as well for the kids. Immediately what they also did was they knew that they're not just going to go and offer the kids sugary drinks. They checked with us first, what can we give them? And usually we do like fruit juices and things like that, which is not as bad as sodas and things. So they checked with us immediately. And for me, that was amazing. It's small little touches, small little things that they do that makes a massive, massive difference. So that was just on arrival. By now, the kids have not even gone into the lodge and explored and their gift packs. I mean, that was all coming. So we had lunch. Then they said, okay, look, you've settled in. Let's take you through the lodge. You can get a feel of what it looks like, where everything is. And they really put us at ease. And it was a really easy induction into the lodge. Very quick, but to the point and factual, and we knew exactly what was happening. But they didn't keep us there for like 15 minutes, 20 minutes to give us an induction of the lodge, because that can sometimes become a bit tedious. Everybody knew what they needed to say, what they needed to talk about, indemnity signed, and Bob's your uncle. So then we went through the lodge, and the lodge is built beautifully. As you walk into the lodge, on your left there's a coffee station with a bar, and there's an espresso machine, and there's always a butler on hand that was able to serve and help us, and just always there to make sure that we were comfortable and looked after. The host then took us through the lodge, so coffee station on your left, lounge area with a fireplace on the right. As you go in, there was a big dining table where we had dinners every night, also with a fireplace. And then if you go down to the left, there's stairs that goes down into a wine cellar with a beautiful selection of South African wines that you have at your disposal to have during dinner or lunch. Is really, really amazing. And then just behind the dining room table on the other side of the fireplace was another type of lounge area. There's a television there, but the kids immediately saw the toys in the cupboard, and they were like kids in a candy store. And there was such clever things, something as simple as a plastic Jenga set, which I would have never thought of. We immediately think Jenga, wooden blocks, you pull it out. You can think about like a 2-3-year-old, if that tower of Jenga blocks fall over, it falls on their finger, it's tears and all of that. But it was a plastic Jenga block game. Amazing, something very simple that they got there. They've got a variety of different things. They've got books and puzzles and toy cars for the kids to play. And the kids were just in seventh heaven immediately. Didn't even look at the TV that was in that same room. They were just so busy enjoying the toys that the lodge had there for the kids. So that kept them busy for a couple of minutes, which allowed us then to go and look at the rooms. 2 rooms. The beds are, if I tell you super king size, I'm probably making an understatement. It's quite an interesting story because the owners of the lodge are quite long people. So they really wanted them to have large beds that would obviously have them sleep there comfortably. And the beds are huge. I cannot tell you how big they were. We ended up as a family just all sleeping in one bed. The 2 boys, me and my wife, all in one bed. We didn't even use the other room, which was quite funny because we thought that the kids are just going to have a good time. They're going to have their own bed and, we're going to be in our own rooms. But that rarely happens. But the bed was so big that all 4 of us could fit in that bed, and it was not even remotely uncomfortable. Everybody had enough space. And I think for the kids especially, it was so much fun to be on a big bed like that. So that was pretty cool. It's the largest beds that I've seen, and I think I might have ever seen at a lodge. It's pretty big. It's beyond the norm that you can buy. They actually custom built these beds. So that was pretty cool. The rooms are incredibly spacious, beautiful. There's ample cupboard space. There is... Obviously, the bed is there. There's a couch in the room. There's a desk where you can go and work. The bathrooms are beautiful, amazing, beautiful bathtub, shower, basins. Everything is just really neat, and there's space. And for me, a lodge can be as beautiful as they want it to be, but if there's not space, things become a little bit cramped. And there is no lack of space. And it also helps with families, especially with young kids, that you've got space for the kids to run around and nobody is worried about, being on top of one another. So space was incredible at this lodge. Um, then, as we arrived on the bed, and this was so cool because the kids were already busy with the toys and things, but Morukuru has got this beautiful backpacks that they make for kids. They call it Morukuru Safari Kids. And it's a little program that they've put together for kids to be kept busy during their time. But what is really cool is that it's not just a backpack. Inside the backpack, they've got a coloring book with all the different types of animals. They've got pencils in there, they've got crayons in there. They have a checklist book for the kids to go and check off the animals that they see on Game Drive. They have a tracking book as well, which I thought was so nice, with visual photos of the animals and the track. So if we stopped and we looked at hyena tracks as an example, they could go back and look at the track on the ground, look at the animal, and put one and one together. So that little things, even on Game Drive, there's even a map in the checklist book. And what's cool about that is that my son kept asking me, like, where are we now? Where did we see the wild dogs? Where did we see the elephant? Where in the reserve are we? And he's 6 years old. So there was just so many things for the kids to be kept busy the whole time when they were on safari specifically. And that's one of the things when taking a family safari with younger kids that becomes very challenging and sometimes frustrating for moms and dads, is when they are on safari. We all know that the lodge can be as beautiful as possible, but everybody comes to go out into the field to see animals, to see lions, leopards, whatever the case might be. But that's the main reason why we come to Africa, is to see the animals. The lodge and the beauty of it and the service and all of that is an integral part of the experience. But the ability of just that backpack and the little things that they've got in there to keep your kids busy just for an extra 10 minutes on Game Drive gives you as a parent a little bit of a reprieve just to take it all in. So that was really amazing. Really loved that. Nice, fine touches. And then just to keep on, I might be talking a lot about the kids in this podcast because I think it's so important that a family safari looks after the kids. And apart from the staff, again, the staff looked after the kids. The chef was there the whole time. The butler was playing with them and picking them up and running around with the kids. They were really, really, really amazing. But every night on the kids' bed, and this was awesome. I cannot tell you how cool this was. So on the bed, every night they had a little surprise for the kids. Just something very, very small. The first night they got back, obviously they did the turn down of the beds, and on the bed there was a little note personalized to my sons and their names on it. And if you've got kids, you might have seen these little capsules that you put into water that dissolves, and then it's like a spongy animal figure. And they gave the kids one each. And it is just before bath time. So it's so clever because then the kids were excited to go and bath because they can take the capsules into the bathtub. And it's just that foresight of thinking about, what do kids need on a safari? And they think further than just a Game Drive, just the arrival. But okay, what about bedtime? So that was the first night. The second night, if they couldn't have topped the first night, the second night we got back, and the kids went to the room, although they didn't sleep there, but they went to the room, and on their bed were two tin coffee mugs with Morukuru on it, and inside, hot chocolate. Amazing. And it was a cool evening as well because it was rainy. So obviously, naturally, the kids were like, oh, we want to have the hot chocolate. But here's the kicker about how good the attention to detail was. My one kid is allergic to dairy. And his hot chocolate had dairy-free hot chocolate with a sticker on it with his name on it. They made sure that it was dairy-free. Now it sounds simple, and for the most part, lodges are very in tune with these type of things. But this is for your kids, so it was just so amazing to see that little types of details. We didn't have to tell Jockey, oh, sorry, you can't have it because there's milk in it. We could make them both a hot chocolate. They were super happy before bed. Happy days in bed. So amazing. Um, so I've spoken a lot about the kids, and it's such an important part of the safari experience when you're on a family safari, because the kids need to be kept busy. But for the parents, there's also a lot to do. So on the outside of the main lodge area, there's a beautiful, beautiful pool. And a beautiful boma area where they make fire in the evenings, and a little pergola where they set up dinner. We were going to have dinner there last night, but it was a little bit windy and rainy, so we didn't. But we had an amazing day out in the pool. The kids loved it. They were running and jumping and swimming, and we could relax as well for a little bit. Have a drink next to the pool and just take it all in. So it was really amazing family time, and that pool is just so special. My wife was, she had quite a long couple of work weeks behind her, and I was going to go and take photos of the spa in any case. So she went to the spa for a treatment, and she came out, and she said it was amazing. The spa is located beautifully on the Morukuru River. It's a really cool spot. It's very tranquil. You've got the birds calling in the background, the flow of water. So it all kind of creates a very nice wellness setting for a spa. And my wife has been to quite a number of spas over the years, and this, she says, was really an amazing experience. So, kudos to the Morukuru team for that. Now, all of you will know that I am a wildlife photographer, and I love taking photos, and I know Madikwe's game viewing is incredible. We had pretty average weather, so it was a little bit trickier, and obviously with the kids we were limited on time. They get a little bit antsy after like 2-3 hours, but in the time that we were out in the field, we actually had pretty good game viewing, and Madikwe is known for good game viewing. We actually, on our first afternoon when we got there, we stopped for drinks. We went out for about an hour because it was already dark. We did a little bumble, we saw some elephants, then stopped for an afternoon sundowner. And our guide Jock, he was like, we were busy having a drink and we're playing with the kids and we're looking at elephant dung, and we were having a good time, and then they got quiet and they looked back and they're like, lions. And these two massive male lions came walking from the river up, and Jock actually mentioned to us, look, we're going to stop here, but don't venture off too far because we're not far from the water, something might come and drink. And these two male lions walked straight towards us, and the kids were like scurrying around, and was like, look, just keep calm, get into the vehicle. And we slowly started packing up, and then they were too quick, and they were like right next to us pretty quickly, so we all got back onto the vehicle, and these two male lions just walked straight past us in front of the vehicle. I didn't even have time to take a photo or a really good video. There might be something. I'll see if I can lay something in the video side of things. And I'll also lay some, for those of you listening, if you want to go and watch the video, I'll overlay some footage and photos of the lodge. But these two male lions just walked straight past us on our drink stop. The kids' minds were absolutely blown. They're like, Daddy, does this happen often? And it was such a cool experience. We then, after they kind of walked about 100 meters away from us, we got off, quickly packed up, and we followed them for a while with a spotlight, which was cool. And it was a great experience for the kids for about 10 minutes. And then it got dark, and our youngest got a little bit scared and got a little bit rowdy in the back. And with kids, you have to be very careful when you're with predators that they don't get too noisy, because the sound of a kid like crying or yelling can maybe trigger the animals. So we left them be and we went back home. But such an amazing first afternoon, and a crazy story. I mean, I hope our kids can remember that growing up, and maybe it's a story that they can tell when they're a little bit older. But it was a crazy first afternoon. Then the next day we went out again. We saw amazing elephants. We saw two male cheetah, which was great to see. It is quite funny. Me and my wife, we've been going to reserves for many, many years, but we always miss seeing cheetah together. Either she leaves earlier and then the next day I see it, or she sleeps in and I go out and I see it, or when I go, I see it. And she's actually gone away with friends to reserves and seen them when I was not there. So this is actually the first time in like over 10 years that we've been going to the bush together where we actually got to see cheetah together. So that was a pretty cool moment. We spent quite a bit of time with them, and then another vehicle arrived and we kind of left them be because the kids were getting a little bit rowdy. And then in the afternoon it was a little bit quiet, but the final morning I could see Jock and our tracker. They were like on a mission and they found the wild dogs, and we were very fortunate to spend probably about 10 minutes or so, 10-15 minutes with them. It was in a very tricky area. It was very rocky, very bumpy, and also with the kids on the back of the vehicle, and we were pressed for time because we had to leave to come back to Pretoria. But what was amazing about that sighting is, so we're sitting with these dogs and they just made a kill. They killed an impala and they were busy feeding, and there were pups around and the pups were feeding. And then we could see that there's this one adult that's kind of veering off to the left, and we see his behavior changing a little bit. And as that happened, we saw two brown hyena not far from where we were, maybe 30-40 yards away. And immediately we saw the behavior of these two animals changing. And just as we saw that, a spotted hyena came just on the other side. So now we had wild dogs, spotted hyena, and brown hyena all in the same sighting, like creating this boiling pot of something that is about to explode and happen. And we were sitting and hoping that we might get some interaction between them, because the dogs were going to be incredibly protective over their young with hyenas around, especially with the spotted and the brown hyenas being there. And we waited for a few minutes to see if something happens. But then, strangely enough, the dogs just kind of looked at the hyena after they spotted them. The hyenas kind of moved off a little bit, and the dogs went their merry way. And it's fascinating to watch this type of behavior, because we always think that something is going to happen. But we must remember, with predators specifically, if they get injured in an altercation, that is going to stop them from the ability to hunt, to get away. So they need to weigh up their options, whether or not it's worthwhile getting into an altercation with another animal. And most likely what happened there is that, the pups was a little bit further away, so the adult dogs decided, look, they're just standing off, they're showing that they're here, they know that they are there, and they went their merry way. There was no need for an altercation. So that was fascinating to see. Then we went back and we greeted the staff. It was amazing. We had an incredible time at Morukuru Family Madikwe. Really looking forward to go back there again. They've got 3 lodges. So they've got the owner's house, which is the one that we've stayed in. Then they've got River Lodge, I think it's called, or River House, which is very similar to owner's house, but it's got an extra bedroom. And then they've got the farmstead, which is a little distance away, slightly different, and in a beautiful section of the reserve. They've got this big open lawn, very farm style design of the lodge, perfect for families. So all 3 of the lodges they've got in Madikwe is very much family orientated, perfect for families, and perfect for you to go and stay on a family safari. So if you are ever looking to go on safari and you've got a family, there is a lot of options out there. We try to go to the places where we send our guests to, and I can highly recommend Morukuru. It's really an amazing place in a malaria-free area of South Africa. And if you are interested in joining us on safari or planning a safari, let us know. We'll put a link to our website in the description, and we would love to help you plan a safari. But for now, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I hope you enjoyed the chat, a little bit of insight to Morukuru and Madikwe Game Reserve. I'm sure we're going to talk about more lodges there and a little bit more about the reserve maybe. But for now, thank you so much for listening. Remember to subscribe, remember to follow, and remember to share this with all your friends. And if anybody is looking to go on safari, get in touch, let us know. This is Above Africa Stories from the Wild, and we will see you out in the field. Goodbye, everybody. We'll chat soon.